The government's unveiled a $100 million plan to get people out of cars and streets and into safe, dry and warm shelter over winter. The Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Housing Minister Phil Twyford announced the emergency housing package at Te Puea Marae and Mangere Bridge this morning, and our reporter Eva Corlett was there.
The government will spend an extra $100 million over 4 years to increase the number of places available for homeless people to stay. Mr Twyford says just over a third of that will go towards acquiring 1,500 places to urgently house people this winter. That includes transitional and public housing and motel units. The Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, says it's a step towards ending chronic homelessness.
We needed to make sure we were providing and seeking to provide housing as soon as, the cold winter months hit. Our ability to build from scratch additional housing it was difficult, so we were looking to pull out all the stops to find every option available to us to make sure that no one's in a car this winter.
Ms Ardern is calling on the whole community to help.
We are asking those who may have alternate and additional options to contact us as soon as possible, because we want to make sure people are housed this winter, but ultimately we want to make sure they're housed long term.
Today's announcement also includes $63 million to expand the Housing First program. The program aims to help those who are chronically homeless or have complex needs by putting them straight into long-term housing and providing wraparound support. Mr Twyford says it's a model that works.
Housing First recognises that it's easier for people to address complex challenges such as mental health or substance addiction when they have secure and warm housing. It provides housing with no conditions such as psychiatric treatment or sobriety. It's a program which has been highly successful at ending homelessness, and that's why we're scaling it up.
Mr Twyford acknowledged that the Housing First model was introduced by the previous government, but he says not enough funding was put towards it, despite early indications the program was working. Money allocated towards the Housing First program will be split between the main centres and the regions. Ms Ardern is also urging anyone who finds themselves in a desperate situation to get in touch with Work and Income.
The other clear message we're sending is to those who are on the front line of government services, who see need, walk through their door every single day. And our call to them, and the instruction that we have given, is when it comes to special needs grants, be flexible. Provide for those who are in need. That is what our social services are there for, and in the winter time that becomes even more important than ever. That's the kind of culture change we expect.
Groups that help the homeless community have largely applauded the announcement, including the chair of Te Puea Marae, Huri Moana Dennis.
For me, it's just taking it out of crisis mode and putting it into manageable mode. Like I said, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and this is a government, I think, that's got a social conscience. And we'll work with anyone who's going to help us.
Scott Figgenshow of the Community Housing Aotearoa community says groups are finally being acknowledged for their work, especially with Housing First.
All this is based on, again, leadership that came out of the community housing sector when the first project, the People's Project in Hamilton, was put forward. And so, again, what is significant here is that this is a time when government has actually partnered with the community housing sector to deliver on an initiative and a different way of organizing things, and we're quite pleased with that.
But the social housing spokesperson for the National Party, Simon O'Connor, says the announcement isn't as ambitious as the government makes out.
National was spending 3 times as much and promising to spend 3 times as much in this social housing space. So it's disappointing that as the number of homeless goes up, the government's actually reducing what National was prepared to spend.
The government says it will have more than 1,000 public houses, 50 Housing First places, 300 transitional homes and 116 short-term motel contracts created by September. I tāmaki makaurau mō te hōtako te ahiahi nei, ko Eva Corlett, tēnei.
And Dan Cook was the cameraman out with Eva shooting that story.